All right, yo, what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I wanted to touch on what I thought was once again something that I will blow all of your minds away with, right? Which is just rational, strategic logic. So here in Server 2, I am going to walk you through what I think are solutions slash viable options. And I also want to preface this with this video could be late, and I'm doing it on purpose because I'm going to wait to release this video whenever I decide to, once things between OWO, PKO2, GRZ versus TATS, ATM if you want to include them, and then EVG, I guess. I just don't know how much, or I should say DWD as well, excuse me. DWD and then possibly EVG. But for the most part, it's really been OWO, PKO2, GRZ, and then TATS. So when this eventually is released, it will be at a point when things have kind of concluded or settled down, and right, like a white flag or a peace has been drawn, something to that effect. And then in this video, I'm going to explain what I would have liked to see OWO. So I'm gonna approach it from both sides. So I'm gonna approach it on what each side needed to do in order to win earlier, right? So let's start first with the OWO, PKO2, GRZ, DWD side, right? And anyone else included in that. So as you can see, right, let's kind of preface with how things started off. So they eventually worked their way north through, if you're looking here, right, through like Kaltia, Sophrostia, right, for anyone that wasn't already in Sophrostia, and then to Nivola, because none of these alliances were there, and then they worked their way over to Darlin, right? And then worked their way, and you can see OWO here, right, and then worked their way to Forgotten Lands, and then now you can see, let me just double check and make sure they haven't gone. Doesn't look like they have. Okay, right, so they had some people there. And you can see TA has this, right, this pass, and I think this pass too as well, these level 2 passes. So then you get to Lorcan, which is a Zone 2 region. And you have where you see OW and PKO2 have worked their way over from Lorcan in the Zone 2 region, right, which they accessed through the 2 level 2 passes in Forgotten Lands and worked their way over here along with EMP and others. So they came through 1 level 3 pass. This one hasn't been attacked yet. And then they worked their way into Atherin, which is Zone 3. And then that's essentially where we have the situation now. And then, of course, on the other side, right, GRZ just took the level 3 pass west of Atherin, coming in from Hollandale. And then they just expanded eastward, right, going along the South Mountain Pass to the southern level 3 pass. So you may know that, at least as of recording this, I think I would have at least done one other video where where OWO was able to recapture the southern level 3 pass for a little while. I want to say maybe a couple hours. And then TA eventually retook it. And now, based on, and I want to point out that, again, everything you're seeing now, there is a good chance it probably is outdated, but the points I'm going to make will still be relevant. Is that even though the current state of affairs, as of this video recording, is here, just so I can show you some dates for anyone that's curious. I actually have to go in further. That's okay. So, at the moment, they have the 2 level 3 passes. What I would have liked, and this is what's been happening. So you have OW, PKO2, and then GRZ. They've been pounding from Zone 3 on this pass. They've done triple rallies. They've done double rallies. They've done back-to-back rallies. They've, I'm sure, done all-day rallies. They've tried hitting both passes at the same time. But for whatever reason, they are just not breaking through. And I want to explain why this kind of tunnel vision line of thinking really has been a detriment to these alliances, their player morale, their overall alliance morale, I'm sure their leadership and management team morale, the amount of kind of exhaustive resources that have been utilized from this group of alliances and their players. And so I was wanting to I was wanting to now explain. Let me go there, as I had to check some real quick. This is what I would have liked to see them do. Is if you're going to keep the pressure here in Zone 3, great. But if they took a different approach preparing up to Zone 3 and or even after they got into Zone 3 and they started recognizing the stalemate, anytime from just before Zone 3 opened to when they started recognizing the stalemate, what they could have done, and in my opinion should have done, is start entering from Zone 2, right? Start applying pressure. Instead of limiting it to just 2 battlefronts. Remember, you have essentially 4 alliances, 3 if we want to make the argument, that are active. You could start having, as an example, let's zoom in just so I can see the stuff. So let's look at rankings real quick. Alliance power, right? In this video, TA, finally overtook OWO, but we know why, at least as of this video, right? Because of bug reasons, they kind of invested those resources, so they kind of weren't able to get fully reset in some regards, or at least in some areas. But that's neither here nor there. Point is that you could have PKO2, you could have DWD, go and fight on 2 other fronts, and then allow for OWO and GRZ to fight on the 2 fronts, or you allow for OWO to fight on one front against TA and TS, and then the other 3 alliances, DWD, PKO2, and GRZ, fight on the 3 other fronts. And then what you do is you start attacking these 2 level 2 passes and you start pushing them back, right? So an example here is you'd have PKO2 go ahead and start flagging out here, getting the flags one by one and applying pressure. You could even try to throw a fort down here, build it, disconnect, and then try to go here so you can disconnect all these flags along with the member limit there. And then on the southern pass, you can try and throw. Let me see where the thing is, right? Wherever the bridge is. I think it's over here. Let's see. Yeah, right? So the bridge is here. You could try and throw a fort down over here as an example and then try to connect. Right? Or a fort here in the corner and then try and connect that way. Now what it allows for you to do is start fighting on 2 fronts. You could also try to throw a fort down here if you wanted to and then go west. Again, same thing. If you threw the fort down here, you can try and disconnect and then go for the fort. I guess if needed. And then from there, right, you now can hit 2 additional level 2 passes, essentially 2 different theaters of war, right, or battlefield fronts, instead of just limiting to 2. Now you're at 4. So that's what I would have liked to seen them do. Now, if they really wanted to go cray-cray with it, right, what they could have also done is they could have went all the way here through this level 1 pass, got control, and then got in here through one of these 2. And now you're basically fighting on up to 6 fronts, right, that you could come in from. Or at least you have 6 options, more like 4 additional options that you could use 2 to 3 alliances from. And so now you're applying pressure consistently, which means now they now have to constantly be dividing their attention where they can't focus everyone, right? And now you're kind of putting them into this discombobulated state. That would have been how I would have liked to see them approach this earlier on. Now, and then I guess, and I'll add some final thoughts here as well at the end. Now let me talk about TA and TS. I personally think TA and TS could have actually done something similar here, right? Where instead of just limiting it to these 2 fronts, why not go ahead and start applying pressure on PKO2? Why not have a group that's just still pushing out, trying to kill off this, take the pass, and then start working into Lorcan? Same thing. Look for opportunities with OWO over here. Try to allow pressure, whether it's TS pressuring them and then TA's fighting. If TA wants to dedicate, 5-10 people to go over to TS and basically just fight on the front while they're trying to push out. But try to keep expanding TS or keep expanding TA while you're trying to remove territory, right? Because the more territory you remove, the more disconnects on behemoths you do, the more pressure you're applying overall. And so that's something I would have liked to see in TA and TS do, which just really hasn't happened for either side during the fight or during the war. Then lastly, I'll say that what I would have liked to see happen when it comes to the individual fights is I just would like to see, and I think this is going to happen with time, so this is more of a small note, I would just like to see more give and take, knowing when to put pressure, knowing when to retreat, right? Having just kind of more coordinated fights that we can look at and say, wow, right? You don't even have to ask. You can look at a fight and just see it play out and say to yourself, all of these guys have to be, all of these players have to be in a voice call. There's just no other way that they could be this coordinated, making these types of micro adjustments and positional changes, transitions, knowing when to pull back, when to go. Like, you could just tell. And that's the type of level of PvP that Call of Dragons has the opportunity and the ability to get to. It's just a matter of waiting for us to see that actually happen and come to fruition. So again, right, and that's my last thing. I wasn't intending for this to be a long video because it's pretty straightforward on what I really would have liked to see either side do. Of course, a little bit more attention to detail from the OWO, PKO2, GRZ, DWD, etc. side than TATS. But hopefully, once this video comes out, and again, I would love to hear your thoughts, right? So if you're someone who's in Server 2 and you've been watching this play out and you're looking at it from kind of an overhead macro perspective along with seeing how the fights play out at close range, I would love to hear your thoughts, right? Do you agree with the assessment? Do you disagree? Do you think that there's maybe another way or an alternative option that they could have done as well? Usually, even just as, I'll give you guys a little pro tip here, for those of you that are still here at the end of the video. One of the things that you usually would try and do, right, is you would time out active times. Meaning, what you would do is you would take note of top players, or arguably as many as you could, as far as when are they posting in chat, when are you seeing them move around their castle, what's their average offline time, and then you try and schedule rallies and pushes around peak inactive time, and then you schedule defenses and holds around peak active time, right? So you're basically trying to take advantage of the windows that you're able to, and then you try to mitigate as much of your disadvantage during your low active windows, right? This is kind of general war practice. And I just don't know if either side has done that. Again, I haven't asked, I haven't really, this is just kind of a tip, as I said, that I think is really smart to do in just one additional way on how to approach when you're in war. With that in mind, that is it for me. Again, I still would love to hear you guys' comments down below. Let me know what you think. Regardless if you agree or disagree, I still want to hear your feedback and your PvP scenario thoughts. Please do share. But yeah, that's it for me. So again, I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle. As always, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. Until next time, I'll catch you later.